Okay, so special episode of Power Bourbon. It's
Changing it up. What?
yeah. We went on an amazing trip,
We did.
and it was a once in a lifetime thing. Hopefully, we'll get to do it
I don't
again.
know. You say once in a lifetime, but we know we want to get back.
Yeah. To
And
be fair,
honestly, the, little hop across the pond really isn't that bad.
and we are good parents. And our daughter screams at us at least once a week that she wants to go back to Scotland. So we should, as good parents, probably do that for her. Mm-hmm. Which means tonight we're going to drink some scotch and talk a little bit about Scotland.
Yeah.
And how much fun we had.
We branched out and have got into the world of Scotch.
We did.
And I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. And I mean, we figured if we were going to get into the world of Scotch, what better way to do it than just go to Scotland and drink a whole bunch.
Yeah.
I mean,
authentic. Have it from the source.
Yeah. And we got to ride the Harry Potter train, which was really, really cool.
Yes, the Jacobite steam train, which is now known as the Harry Potter train because it was used to film the Hogwarts Express.
Yes.
For the movies, and it's an actual still operating steam train, but they now have just nicknamed it the Harry Potter steam train because of the movie.
Right, which is fun talking to the locals out there because it's how like people in Kentucky feel about Weller 12. Like all the old farts were like, that used to be my drink and I just bought cases of it, no big deal. They're like, we used to ride the Jacobite steam train anytime and now you got to get tickets like 6 months in advance and it sucks. So I completely understand how you guys feel over there, but it's a cool experience.
It is, yes. And it was interesting kind of learning some of the history about Jacobites as well. Of course, had to do some research watching Outlander. So I've turned into an Outlander fan.
Yep.
Fallen in love with Jamie.
Yeah. Which,
It's fine.
I've accepted she's going to leave me for him. But I will have good scotch, which is wonderful. So we never actually got to go to the Islay region.
Yes.
Which is part of the reason we're going to have to go back at some point and just make it like a true Scotch tour type thing. But we did hit several other regions, and one of them...
Yeah, so we hit at the Highlands area. So there were things like on the outskirts there.
Yeah.
So there's stuff like right on the edge.
Yeah, we got to the Highlands, the Lowlands, Campbelltown... and then also the Isle of Skye region.
Correct.
Which is interesting talking to locals. They're actually, so there's 5 regions for Scotch. They're talking about wanting to make a 6th region, which would be the island region, which would be those northern islands with Isle and Skye of all those, because they're starting to get a couple of distilleries. But when we went to the Isle of Skye, we had to stop at one place.
Yes.
Which we were super excited about, though our tour guide was like ho-hum about. He was a grumpy old man. We won't say his name, but oh my gosh, was it entertaining as all get out. Like, he went by the distillery, he's like, we ain't stopping. I was like, excuse me, sir, we're stopping.
He kept trying to say he thought it was closed.
Yeah.
We're like, no, let's just go and check to make sure.
Right. We saw other people like walking in. I'm like,
open.
I want to follow those people. So that distillery is Taliskers. So Taliskers is pretty readily available in America. Mm-hmm. Now, the one we've been looking for that we haven't found, which was your favorite, was
So it's called Portree. So because of the port in the name, because it's been finished in port barrels.
Right.
It was so good. Of course, we sampled. We got like a mini flights when we were there at the distillery.
Right.
And so that was my favorite that we tasted. Could have bought it, but, when you're coming back home with a limited amount of room in your suitcase, we had to narrow it down. So we went with a different option.
Right. And so basically what we did at every distillery, which was completely like mind-blowing. So it's just completely different than how it is in America. So when you go to Buffalo Trace, they have Buffalo Trace, and that's it. But when you go to like Talisker's, they have Lagavulin and any other distillery they're associated with, which just is crazy that you can like buy other brands at the distillery. So what we decided to do when we were over there was only buy bottles that you could not get over in America.
In the US, yeah.
And we were told the Portree you could find over here. We have not found it.
Yeah. Been searching, haven't found it. That's okay.
But yeah, we're hoping. So if you know a place, let us know in the comments below. But the bottle we went with that we're going to talk about tonight is the Distillery Exclusive Batch 1. And the main reason we went with this, besides the fact that we did that tasting and it was absolutely amazing, was because it was one that was finished exclusively in bourbon barrels. So,
of course, it was speaking his language. Right. He was all about it.
Yeah, being a bourbon drinker, we wanted to like kind of go over there, and we're not big sherry fans, which is generally a big one they finish it in. So we kind of like gravitated towards the ex-bourbon barrels. So yeah, so it's been a moment since we've had this. So I'm excited to get back into it, and we'll see what we think. So cheers.
Here we go.
Yeah. So
I've gotta say my line, because anytime we're drinking Scotch, it just makes me think of Ron Burgundy. I love Scotch. Scotchy Scotch Scotch. Here it goes down into my belly.
So, on the nose, which...
So much peat.
Yeah.
Which is what they're known for.
Right.
Talisker's known for heavy peat.
Right, which blew my mind, because anytime you think peat, I always think the Islay region, not the Isle of Skye region. But going around, because we toured around the entire Islay or Isle of Skye area, like you got to see peat bogs, you got to see where they cut the peat. Our tour guide made sure
they're living on peat.
Yeah,
it's a peat island.
Yeah, and our tour guide made sure we pulled over to the edge and saw a puddle with like shiny rainbow oil on top, and explained that you could light it, and that was, the peat and all that stuff, which we were like, we'd rather see, I don't know, the Fairy Glen or something like that. But no, we saw a puddle with oil in it, which was, amazing. However, Talisker's was an amazing experience.
Yeah, but this isn't like overwhelming smokiness. It's a nice hit of smoky peat.
Yes.
Unlike the Lagavulin, which you've had me had before, which feels like I'm putting my face in a campfire.
Yeah.
This is just like a nice, like, you smell the peat, it's there. You're like, oh, it's smoky, but it's not totally overpowering.
It reminds me of like the one pot meals you do when you're camping, where you take a campfire and you put all your food in a aluminum foil, and you just put it in the fire and cook it and then eat it with an apple. So if I took an apple, cored it, put a little brown sugar in it, wrapped it up and put it in the fire, and then left it all night and forgot about it, and then had it the next morning, that's what I get. So I get a lot of the smoky peatness, but then a lot of apple fruitiness on the nose.
Yeah, and this palate is just so light and fruity and delicious. Again, like the peat on the nose doesn't come through as strong on the palate as you think it would.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how those fruit light flavors just continue to carry through. Mm-hmm. It reminds me a bit of wine. It's almost like having an ultra aged wine in some way, with a lot of the kind of like drying oak in there.
Yeah. So what it does for me is, if I took a good Irish whiskey, let's say Redbreast 12, and added some peat to it, like that's what I'm getting. So it's got the good smoky peatness that I do enjoy, not overpowering. And then those young, fresh, citrus, fruity notes. And they really go pretty much 50-50 head to head. Whereas like Lagavulin and other Isleys, it really is the predominant note is the peat and everything like that. And if you go Campbelltown or Highlands, Lowlands, the fruity notes are really much the dominating factor. I feel like this one is a good 50-50.
Yeah, I'm getting, okay, so in terms of like fruit, I'm getting melon. I'm getting like a honeydew melon. A light citrus, almost like not a regular lemon, but like what are those kind of more sweet lemons? A Meyer lemon,
Yeah.
something a little bit more tame, sweet.
I go some strawberry in there. There's a little bit of strawberry.
Okay.
But yeah. No,
Good.
it
I
was,
like it.
Yeah. It was definitely one of our favorites along the way. We got a couple other scotches we picked up, and we'll throw those reviews in every so often to talk about and everything. Again, unfortunately, unless you go to Scotland, you're not going to find these probably.
This particular one,
Right.
yes.
Which is why we bought them, because like, why would we buy a scotch that we can find here in the States? We wanted something special that we found over there, and this is, I would say, definitely one of those.
It is very unique, but I think this is one that you could give to people and it would make them interested in Scotch.
Yeah.
It's made me interested.
Yeah,
So-
no, I agree.
I'll keep trying other Scotches based on this.
So with that, maybe branch out a little bit. Try going into a scotch, something else. There's other things other than bourbon for sure. And, it's fun to branch out. And tune in for later where we do a couple other scotch episodes with all the other scotches we found. So with that, cheers. See you later.
Cheers.